Welcome to this special ET Studios conversation on the topic Reimagining Talent with AI. Are we ready for the future of work? This is co-curated by ET HR World in association with Adrenaline. The future of work is no longer a distant vision. It is unfolding here and now, driven by the convergence of human talent and artificial intelligence. For organizations, this central question is no longer whether AI will impact the workforce, but actually the question now is how leaders can harness the power while safeguarding human potential. From talent acquisition and career development to employee engagement and workforce agility, AI promises to unlock new possibilities that were previously unimaginable. Intelligent systems can now anticipate workforce needs, recommend personalized learning journeys, and they can also provide predictive insights for better decision making. However, there is another side to this. Alongside these opportunities, critical challenges lie. You have skill gaps, you have ethical concerns, cultural readiness, and the urgent need for trust in AI driven decisions. For CHROs, this is a defining moment. They must lead the shift toward a workforce that is both AI enabled and also human centered, reimagining how talent strategies align with business transformation. The future of work demands leaders who can balance efficiency with empathy, who can also balance automation with creativity and technology with trust. In this exclusive ET Studio conversation, co curated by ET HR World and Adrenaline, leaders will share perspectives on how AI is reshaping talent, what readiness looks like for an organization today, and how CHROs can architect a workforce that's prepared to thrive in this new era. A very warm welcome to our leaders present with us today. We have with us Seema Nair, CHRO Flipkart, and Srinivasa Bharati, Managing Director and CEO Adrenaline. A very warm welcome to the two of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seema, I'll start off with you. In your opinion, how do you view the future of work and do you view it as a blend of AI and human talent?
So I'll just go back to the basics for a minute. The purpose of business, right? It continues to be to grow, to be able to create value for itself, right? And when we say sustainability, obviously there is environmental sustainability, but the sustainability of the business, the continuity of the business, right? Through all the different things that take place. So and any people capability, any capability, right? Now that could be of different kinds, which is core to the business, could be context to the business, but you need that kind of capability from a human lens, right, to deliver the business. At the end of the day, AI is another technology, right? And we've had over our lifetimes and earlier, right, many different kinds of technologies that have evolved to enable that business to do better and better. So whether it's AI or whether it's any other technology, the end game is always going to be how does this augment the business? Does it support the revenue? Does it support the customers? Does it support the supplier ecosystem? Does it support facilities? What is the infrastructure or what is the enablement that it does? And I think there's always going to be a blend, right? So today it is AI, tomorrow it could be other technologies, but it's always going to be a blend of that kind of technology and humans that continue to power the businesses of the future.
Well, you're absolutely right. Business growth is at the core of it all. So that leads me to my question to Mr. Bharati. As the CEO of an AI driven HR tech company, how do you see AI driving business growth?
Yeah, more than business growth, I would call it business impact, right? And I think from whatever we have seen in the last few years, and especially in the last few quarters, we are seeing real business impact happening not only in our own business, but also among customer businesses that we work with and we partner with. And we look at it from 5 angles. We call it, talent acquisition to talent engagement. So if you look at operations, especially talent operations, I think it's a given. We have a lot of automation that's coming there, and AI has actually been augmenting a lot of those operational areas. But where we see, interestingly, AI coming in, getting a lot of impact, is in performance and potential, in kind of trying to improve performance of individuals, where the performance versus potential problem has always been a big thing in HR, isn't it? How do I actually get people's performance up to meet their potential? I think a lot of it earlier used to be very subjective, in the way we measured performance, and we looked at how do we create a career path for individuals in the organization. We are seeing AI even impacting areas like that today, and that indirectly, of course, creates an impact on the business growth.
Well, yes, indeed. I think it's proportional to that. Seema, how are you seeing AI impact the role of CHROs, and where is it having the most impact according to you?
So to start with, right, I think several people mentioned it across the 2 days of the conference that we've had. Ability to take actionable insights, right, from the stream of data. I mean, just think about it, right? Any large workforce, there is multiple different transactions that are taking place every single day, every single month, for 12 months of the year, right? There are many ongoing transactions, and that that generates data of different kinds, and across the entire employee life cycle. I think he mentioned talent, but basically, right, if I think about org design, manpower planning, translating that into then hiring and onboarding decisions, learning and talent investments, right, culture and engagement, building culture and engagement, taking a look at performance and rewards, taking a look at basic, right, HR operations, compliance management, and so on, right? That's the entire life cycle of pretty much everything that you're dealing with, right, throughout the life cycle of the human that is there in the organization. At the end of the day, there's a ton of data being generated, and if we don't convert that into insights, right, we're losing a lot. Very often, right, I mean, there are decisions that are being made. For example, it could be a policy, right? Should we offer an unlimited wellness leave, right? What's likely to be the behavior, right? Should we do 360 feedback? If yes, then should it be anonymous to the employee? Should it not? Should the person be allowed to know who's giving him or her feedback, or should it not? Even simple decisions like this, right? I mean, if there are there's a gut feeling, right? There's a human who's understanding of the domain, understanding of psychology, understanding of human behavior, can be complemented with insights. I think he just gave the example of be getting performance to match potential, right? And so again, if you take a look at the background of the person, right? If you take a look at the gaps, or if you take a look at, for example, engagement, if you take a look at his or her manager capability, if you take a look at business clarity, there are so many different data sets already. And being able to translate, convert all of that to say, okay, what is the reason for that gap? What is the root cause analysis? And how do we solve for it? I think within the conference, somebody was talking about employee engagement indicators, right? Or early warning systems. And I think even within Flipkart, right? Many of our AI solutions have become very powerful, very advanced, right? We have a very high degree of match in terms of who we believe might get disengaged for multiple reasons. But again, there are many different root causes behind each employee. Sometimes it could be personal factors, sometimes it could be factors at work. And it's almost impossible in terms of HR investment, while everybody does engagement surveys and mood surveys and all of those. But honestly, to discover what's going behind engagement factors for different people at various points in time. And so that's where some of these data and talent insights, right, can definitely support the role of not just CHRO, but I think everybody in HR.
Okay, so the ability to take actionable insights, I think that's a very rich answer indeed, right? And I think it's difficult to navigate so much data as a person or even as a group of people. Machines do a better job, and AI, I think, is transforming the way we interact with data. How is AI transforming the role of CHROs? Where are you seeing impact?
Yeah, I think data is a big point. But I think when we look at data, we somehow look at it as structured data alone. But what AI can actually do today is convert this unstructured data into knowledge. And looking at structured data that we already have from our systems, is one input, and the other input is all the unstructured information that's available, whether it's in documents, PPTs, emails. Maybe a commendation that actually is given in an award in a function or whatever. I think those things are not captured, and the mood and the culture that she was saying appropriately. This information actually converted into knowledge creates that much more impact when you use AI to derive insights from there. And that's the big. In fact, we call it the knowledge garden. We don't call it the knowledge base or the knowledge graph. We call it the talent knowledge garden, and getting to know what's the underlying unknown hidden strengths and what we say blind spots of people can be brought out pretty easily using an AI mechanism today from this knowledge base, from this knowledge garden.
From the knowledge garden.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting indeed. How you transform vibes into knowledge, essentially. Okay.
Absolutely. So we
That's
call
pretty
it
cool.
pulse in a way.
Oh, the pulse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So vibes, pulse,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
It's same thing in a new bottle. Coming to you, Seema, how do you think an organization can be AI ready? What does it truly take for an organization to be there?
So I'll talk about three different things, right? One is of course the advancement of the technology, right? Then whether it's automation, the ability to do basic transactions, converting that data into insights, all of that, right? Which is tech investments, right? Primarily. I think the other is capability of domain teams, right? To identify use cases, prioritize use cases, and leverage those use cases. I'll give you an example from one of my previous organizations, right? The IT team had proven that the technology that they had, right, was able to support demand and supply planning, right? I mean, organizations when they are producing product, they need to know where to ship that product to, right? I mean, there's demand coming from multiple segments, and you have to take the right decisions in order to not have wastage, right, within the supply chain, and or what to produce also, right, at various points in time, because you may have multiple products and you may have factories that are capable of producing XYZ quantum, right, and so on. So all of that and there is human element to that decision based on years of knowledge and the data insights. And then my IT team, right, had produced using the same data. They had said we can take decisions, and so there's human decision making. There's IT-led decision making. I don't think they called it AI at that point of time. But what they proved over a period of time was that about 17% of wastage could have been reduced if in every single phase it was the IT team, or not IT team, but the IT-led decision making that was followed, versus humans saying, okay, I think I know better and let me tweak this and let me do this, and so on and so forth, right? So there's actual data that can be generated on even that, right? But that's where the capability of understanding and utilizing, but it's also a mindset and a culture shift. Because for example, egos can be very fragile,
Yes.
right? And in this kind of a scenario, to say then who am I, what is my job, what remains of my job, and how am I going to leverage this? Am I going to see it as competition, or am I going to see it as something that can make me better?
Yes.
That same team could have been 17% better.
Correct.
That's the other way of looking at it, right? So I think for us to be able to successfully deliver this, I think we have to do all of these together.
Absolutely. And I'll take that across to you. It really boils down to the mindset, change leadership. How does an organization have the leaders lead them into being AI ready?
Yeah, I think we come back to the word skills.
Yeah.
Okay. I think reskilling is now a constant,
Yes.
to say. But then yes, to look at, I think one of the things that AI has also made CEOs do is to start looking at skills at a much more granular level, right? And also the processes at a granular level, to then start looking at identifying those processes and skills that can be augmented with AI, and those that require the human touch, right? And how do I then blend the two into my workflows, into my processes, and into my leadership structure. In fact, in the presentation I made earlier, I had shown a hybrid structure where you could have a digital workforce and a human workforce together. And how do I then create a org structure around that, right? And what are the typical conventional org structures that are going to get challenged in the future? It's going to be interesting that way, right? And how do we then look at a digital workforce working with the humans in order to then create business outcomes is an interesting aspect that CEOs will have to look at.
Perhaps AI-driven decision-making or tech-empowered decision-making with these rich insights is definitely better, but it does, as of now, lack empathy. Where do you think the human touch is essential? And also, when it comes to ethics, where do you stand on AI and what should we be mindful of?
So I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a judicious blend of both. I'll give you scenario once again, right? Let's assume that, and these obviously happen. Unfortunate scenarios do happen. Let's assume there's been a death of an employee, right? And now it's not the employee that you're dealing with anymore. You're dealing with his or her family members. In some cases, there could have been probably huge dependency on the employee, right? Not just financially, but otherwise also, right? Emotionally, they're probably not in the best frame of mind, right? Now, definitely, you want investment of technology, including AI, to reduce friction on that transaction, right? For example, documents upload, right? The whole workflow of, and it's by the way very complex, right? To be able to make death claims and so on, right? Especially with insurance companies, within the organization, and so on, right? With different parties, sometimes a lot of people don't always update their wills, don't always update their nominees. There could be multiple claimants and so on. So it's a complex process as well. But imagine, there are workflows that you've created, and all of this is very, very seamless. All the data or information on the process, right, is already available. The family is getting to know at every stage, right, what is the step. Now, a human can do this, but if this has to be done at scale for many, many different cases, right, there could be hundreds of cases in a year, or for a large workforce, there could even be thousands of cases in a year. And then to expect that every HR partner has exactly the same skills in different kinds of circumstances, right, to be able to manage and navigate this process. And sometimes this can take weeks and even months, right, to settle. So it's almost an impossible task, right? But you can use technology to automate this whole workflow and make it extremely seamless. But as frictionless you want that transaction to be, you also want the human element, right? For example, even a visit to the family, right? Being able to, if it was unnatural death, then being able to lodge an FIR, right? Being able to take help them with hospital and bedside sort of transactions, right? Having maybe a memorial. There could be others within the organization that could be impacted. It could be the people who worked very closely with this person, and then grief counseling and so on, right? So there is a part where the automation is extremely important in order to make sure the transactions go through very, very seamlessly and you're not human dependent. And there is a part where it's the emotions, it's the feeling, right? I mean, that takes center stage, and that you cannot give it to technology. If that makes sense, right? So it has to be yin and yang and a very judicious blend of both.
I think that's a great example indeed. The fact that technology can make even these very difficult situations easier. The automation process makes it easier. And also, I think it would be actually more sensitive to deal with a machine than with a human for some things when it comes to documents, especially. But there are these other aspects that are best when human-led. What is your view on this, Mr. Bharti?
Yeah, so I think whatever she said is perfectly actually correct. The other aspect of it is the ethics side of it, right? So it's about how do I ensure the AI that we use doesn't have its own bias, and that comes from the data, right? So that comes from how clean our data set is, which is the right LLM that we use behind, and what are the governance and other policies that we superimpose on top of that in the organization to ensure that these ethical boundaries are all managed pretty well, and creating a situation where those that require a human touch is not touched by AI, right? And ensuring that the while eliminating human bias and bringing in AI, we don't go the other extreme and actually create more bias using AI than what a human would have done. I think there is a sensitive balance that we got to maintain, and it's a I would think it's a constant catch up, and it's a constant review is absolutely required. But I think it will only keep improving. It will keep improving as long as we are very watchful of what we are training and feeding the AI models with, and what kind of guide rails and guardrails we create, within the organization for ensuring that free and fair use of, the AI is done by employees in accordance with whatever are the policies laid down within the organization. I'm still talking within the organizational context.
Absolutely. No, that's true. Outside of the organization, there are far-reaching effects as well of AI, but we won't be delving into that in this conversation. In fact, that brings us to the end of our discussion here today. It's been fantastic, listening to the two of you. And like I said right at the start, the future is already here. We are living in an AI-driven world. And like you said, it's only going to get better. So we need to have those guidelines and guardrails in place while we play a catch-up game and AI plays a catch-up game with us as well. Thank you so much for being a part of this discussion. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks so much. And thank you for being a very patient viewer. And thank you for tuning in. And remember, for more such insightful conversations, you can stay tuned to ET HR World.